Yes. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Kremp. I'm the conservation agent here in Leominster. Thank you all for coming. I just want to say before we kick it off here, if everyone has any cell phones or electronic devices, just please put them on silent so that we don't get any interruptions during the proceedings here. And from there, I will go ahead and go on with a roll call of the commission to see who's present. Starting with Jim Chambers.
Here.
Mike Seekey.
Here.
Ken Ridland.
Present.
Bob Seacard.
Glad to be here.
And Richard Gullick.
Here.
Okay, and absent are Chuck Raymond, our chair, and Stephanie Quinlan, who is anticipated to arrive shortly, potentially. But with that, we have a quorum. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to our vice chair, Dr. Richard Gullick.
Thank you very much, Nick. Good evening, everybody. It's now 6 o'clock, as you mentioned the date.
Yes, it's, 6
April
o'clock.
11th, 2023. We meet the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month at 6 o'clock. At the beginning of the meeting, we like to open it up, see if there's any comments from the public or any questions that aren't related to the agenda, just to give them a chance to scoot out early. And then no comments, we'll move along with our agenda. Per request from one of the commissioners, we're going to switch the order of the three hearings here, and the one that's listed as B, we're going to start first. So I'll read that into the record. Pursuant to, welcome Stephanie, Commissioner. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the construction of a garage in a wetland buffer zone. Address 115 Day Street, map and parcel 577-9, DEP file number.
Not yet issued.
Not yet issued.
Yes.
Still not yet issued. Okay. Do we have somebody presenting on this? Would you stand up or come forward and say your name?
Yes, sir. Stephen Road at 115 Day Street. My wife Iris. We appreciate your time. It was questionable in the beginning whether we should go through the conservation. I wanted to, for a reason, is I want to be good neighbors to my neighbors. I want them to know what's going on, especially my neighbor at 103 Day. The individuals that went out to look, you can see all the water goes to her yard. She's always had water in her yard, and they've actually multiple times, especially this time of the year, they have flooding. I actually haven't spoken to her. She was invited physically. I went to her house and asked her, and she's also got her notice. She wishes not to be here, but I want everybody to know what's going on, that we're not changing anything as far as digging in wetlands. We're not changing the way the water's going. We're not changing anything. It works fine. It's always been the way it is. And our house doesn't flood, and hopefully hers gets less flooding.
It
plan
works
on
well.
putting trees up
It
and-
being what exactly? You said it.
The current drainage.
The drainage.
The drainage I have now, it's not gonna be changed. We're not digging anything but the foundation. That's it. I clearly marked where the foundation's gonna be. And the water flow from my house to my abutters on my right, the only one that really gets water is 103 Day. And that will not change. If you notice, there's a bunch of bushes in there. She doesn't take care of much, but those bushes soak some of that water up for her.
She's at the lowest point there
She
too.
is the lowest point in a whole radius in both directions of where her home is. And when we eventually bought the house, which will be in 2 weeks, 30 years ago, the whole front of my house was dirt. There was no curbings, and the water used to come down Day Street directly into their property.
Is you never concerned about this project that you're doing?
She will not voice her opinion, but I had done stuff to keep water from going to her yard over the years.
Right.
Putting a berm up, planting
Yes.
grass,
Yep.
putting in bushes. Those are the things that are gonna make the difference in the conservation. And I love composting. If you didn't notice, I have multiple compost areas in my yard. It's free. I use it, flower beds and lawns, and my friends take some, and so on and so forth. And those areas, if you noticed when any of you went on Google or to my house, that keeps the water from flooding her yard, and it disputes it to an area where it runs out the other side, adjacent to Sawyer Way, down the entrenchment, under Sawyer Way and out. And I wanna keep that. So the water's just not free flowing right onto our property.
So, a matter of curiosity, you've lived there for 30 years?
Yes, sir.
Across the street from your house, there seems to be a small seasonal,
Oh, it's not
stream.
seasonal, it's full year round.
It is full
It
year.
is very deep.
But it seems to terminate right there.
It does,
It
correct.
does.
I actually talked to DPW about that. The person at 94 Day always has flooding in their basement. And they have actually 2 one-horse sub pumps because of that,
Where does that originate from?
all over. Jocelyn Street, the back half, Lincoln, Thompson Place, it all runs down there.
And it stays wet all
There's
year.
no outlet. It stays in there and it slowly drains out, naturally.
Can I ask you a question in regards to what you'll be putting up as a structure, a garage?
Of course.
In your house, will you be putting in any drainage on the footing portion of your construction of this?
No, sir, because it never gets wet other than the water coming off the
So
roof.
that's not gonna impact
No,
anything else?
the only thing we're gonna install is a foundation.
I was just curious.
The foundation and the center of the garage will be leveled out with some fill, and I'm gonna leave it open until Mother Nature has time to pack it in. And we're gonna put in, it's gonna be 2 or 3 months. And then we're gonna put in some graded base to make everything hard, so when the contractor people come, they start building, that's all gonna be compacted, so after everything's done, which is the last thing, will be the floor in the actual garage.
And then the rest of the structure, what's the square footage? That'll be.
I'm not sure, it's 38 long by 30 wide.
You're not connecting it to your existing structure, right?
Yes, sir.
You are? Okay.
Yes, sir, there's gonna be an 8-foot area
Yep.
that's gonna be built to come out, and then the garage, because the garage roof interfered with the existing roof on our house. And the architect, I had the plans done by a licensed architect, because I don't know how this stuff should be. He's the one that suggested that, so we're not tampering with roof structures and all that kind of stuff.
That's good.
And just to let you know, the contractor building it is gonna be CTE, class of 2023 and 24.
What is what is CTE? For those that don't-
Center for Technical Education, which is Leominster Trade School. I actually went to the trade school, I'm a graduate of the trade school, 1986, I'm getting older. And it's a good project for them, cause there's no time frame.
I'm an advisor.
When they go to build houses and stuff, the banks insist on a time frame. There is no time frame. It takes them all school year, that's fine. If, that's the whole thing behind what we're doing, is
Where does the water that comes from the roof get directed in your plan?
straight down that lawn where the garage is going, right down the lawn to my neighbor's yard.
Gutters or
103.
just straight off the roof?
Just straight off the roof, no gutters. We're seriously thinking about putting gutters on, but it all depends on where the water for those gutters end up. It's gonna end up in the same place it does now. That's why I had mentioned, Mr. Kemp, when he was up there, I'd like to, again, plant more bushes. We planted bushes, but in that area, it's so wet, I've actually had full-grown trees die.
You're talking about that lower area.
That lower
closer to the
area,
neighbors.
correct, near her driveway. I've actually had big 2-foot round trees come down in storms that from her property to my property, because of the water, it just rots the root balls. I don't think planting an oak or a maple is gonna work. I'd like to see it stay the way it is, but I'm gonna plant some arborvitaes and boxwoods to try to help that situation, to kinda dry it out a little, you know, because when you get a torrential rain, even the houses on Sawyer Way behind her, it all goes to her property.
For the record, there were 4 of us visiting there today.
Yeah. I'm
Okay,
glad you took time
Commissioner
to, and
Ridley.
thank you.
Commissioner Siki, Mr. Kramp, and myself, Rich Gallagher, visited. There are plants along the edge.
Plan on putting more kind of plants that are water tolerable that'll help that. I didn't know if you went further back where the hill is,
No, I didn't.
well, that's where the water is, and if you went there today, you would have seen there's no standing water, but it's muddy. And that's where we wanna stay away from. That runs at the bottom of the hill, all the way up from Upper Jocelyn Street, the farm. It runs all the way down to the bottom of my hill, and then it goes to the right and goes down to her property in Sawyer Way.
Is the entire footprint within the buffer?
Oh, absolutely.
And how close is the structure gonna be to the actual wetlands?
If you consider her land, I'm 18 feet from the surveyed property, but actually, it's how you look at it. It's generally 25 or 30, but when you get heavy rains, it's all wetlands. Even the snow, when it melts, it's gonna make all that wetlands. I wouldn't drive a car on it at all, because it's really wet. You could walk on it, but you're gonna need boots.
Yeah, it's wet soil.
It's wet soil, correct, sir.
Do we have other questions from commissioners?
How close, is the building, is there any building now?
No, sir.
Okay, and how
Well,
close?
there's the house and
Oh,
the
house,
garage.
Right, but
And
there's
then
an
there's a
existing
paved
garage?
area outside
Yes.
of that, and
It's
this
an-
is off of that paved area.
Correct.
Well, there's a notice of construction of garage.
Yeah,
It's a new garage.
Oh, okay, so.
it's a second garage or part
And that's
two,
gonna take
or
up an additional.
Yeah, it's basically a second garage.
Okay, so you've got,
extends that one out directly.
Correct, so,
Right.
From that
Additional
extends
Towards-
out.
1,200 square feet.
Correct.
you've got 1,200 square feet or so of impervial area now.
Mhm.
Right. And just,
Which is all, it's all existing as lawn right now.
right. When I bought the property, it was not. I actually owned, which originally was 3 lots. 111, 115, and one, I believe is 13. But when I bought the property, the city and the bank decided to wrap it all together as one. So you might see something that says 111 Day Street, it's actually my front lawn, that giant area with the grass, which we're talking about.
Any other commissioner questions or comments?
Yeah, with a garage that size, what's your intended use?
Parking my cars in it.
Okay.
There will be not living space, there will be no company working there, it's gonna be me, myself.
Automotive maintenance?
No,
It's a private residence.
No.
An addition of a garage to a private residence. He's not gonna start a business on it.
No,
absolutely
I
not.
didn't think he was,
No,
but I'm
and
wondering what
basically,
he's gonna be doing with
right,
vehicles.
basically, I have some cars
Obviously gonna be a reasonable.
that
Sir,
are collecting
Give me a
cars.
second, please let her finish.
I'm sorry,
Commissioner
I
saying,
apologize.
and then wait to speak.
Sorry, I was just saying that I wanted to know how much vehicle maintenance was gonna be done in there, just because of the oil and hazardous materials generally associated with vehicle maintenance in an area that clearly has poor drainage, like 20-25 feet from a wetland.
No, absolutely not. The storage of cars, that's about all that's gonna be going on in there. I do some carpentry work, hands-on type of stuff, but might do a project in there working on my house, but there won't be any of that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to attend it today, but is there a downslope from this to the?
Mhm.
Okay.
To the wet area.
It's like, yeah.
It's not,
Alright, he's got a dry basement. Is that what you said you have a dry
I have a
basement?
dry basement, but I have a sump pump, because when the water level does rise, it's not runoff water, it's when the water
You don't
table
know, well, I
rises.
wanted to ask you if you knew what the water table was.
Right now, I don't know, because my sump pump's about 5 feet deep, and there's nothing in it right now. But it all depends on what collects across the street.
that gives you an idea.
Right now, it's very low across the street, but I've seen it as much as 6 feet deep, 7 feet deep, easily.
Can I ask a question
Please.
of the other commissioners?
Absolutely.
So how do we feel like this compares to the wildflower situation? Just for a consistency standpoint, this is a building that's, you know, it's about the same size, it's gonna be about the same proximity to a wetland. It's entirely within the buffer.
First of all, it's a garage, it's not a house. House being in a buffer zone, I think, constitutes a lot more activities and different parameters than a garage would. So there's one comparison if you wanna make that.
And I think the most important thing to point out is that the area you're talking about on Wildflower was a fully forested lot with just natural vegetation growing out there. This is an existing lawn.
No trees are gonna be removed.
Yeah, there's no clearing.
Downstream, are receivers of the stormwater, here not the case. It's basically just a catch basin, and it's really just the dip between the two lawns.
Okay.
It's
So-
very,
so I
It's
didn't- I
it's
didn't
about
think it
4 to
was
5
much of
feet
much of
from
it.
my lawn to her front lawn,
okay.
if you happen to know what I say.
Yeah, it's very small. There's wetland vegetation and it's not been delineated
No.
for a job this size, but it's, you know, there's
We have no
wetland vegetation.
intentions to do any of that.
Yeah, there's wetland vegetation in there, but it's not, like I said, he's not clearing any plants or anything, and it's a different situation from wildflowers.
I didn't, well anyways, I'll leave that for now. Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
I'm just curious now, I didn't know you were using it for car storage.
Correct.
Which is very nice too, but will you be storing any vehicles outside?
I do now, yes. That's the reason for building this.
Do you do your own oil changes on site?
Yes, I do, and the oil goes to DPW.
And you do it on that, there's an open paved area there
No.
now,
No, it's actually concrete,
concrete.
and it's got a sailor on it. Concrete sailor. So,
It's an open parking area for you, I assume?
That's-
obviously.
that's correct. That's correct.
So the cars that are there now, will they be in your
Correct.
garage?
That's absolutely
Okay.
correct.
So there you go.
That's because I use one bay to work for working, I do a lot of carpentry stuff. The other bay, and I have some cars that end up outside, especially now, when I went and took them out of storage. So I have 3 vehicles in one parking spot in the garage. And I'm worried about leaving them outside. As you know, even the sun can damage, cars.
Thank you. Any other thoughts, questions?
No, I'm good.
Anybody else?
Good.
Them? Okay, we'll move on to the public part of this hearing. Anybody would like to comment who is here? No thoughts coming? From there, I'll ask our conservation agent, what's your thought?
Yeah, so I've been working with Stephen on this the last couple of months, when he first approached me about what he needs to do. He's been very responsive, been to his property a number of times, and as the commissioners that went on the visit can attest to, he keeps it very neat, tidy there. The area being lawn as it is right now, and not requiring any clearing or anything like that, I consider this, a relatively minor alteration, and I would recommend that we approve the order of conditions.
Okay. At this point, I guess I would go along with his suggestion and ask for a motion to approve the order of conditions.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, I appreciate that you are also one of the visitors on the site visit today. Commissioner Siki made the motion, do we have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Whitler, who was also on the site visit today. Thank you.
Alright, I will, take the rest of the commission's vote by roll call. Jim Chambers, Stephanie Quinlan,
Aye.
Bob Secord. Aye. And Richard Bellick.
Aye.
Alright, motion passes 6-0, and, the order is granted. Congratulations.
Thank you,
for
and
your
good
time.
luck.
Yeah, so I will, I'll get that to you, in about 2 weeks. I'll be getting that to you.
I don't plan on doing anything.
Or
Now
actually,
it's been put on till the middle of May, somewhere around Memorial Day, so there won't be nothing done. We won't be putting in the tractor or anything.
I'm sorry, I did actually just realize, as we said at the beginning of the hearing here, that, there has not been a file number issued here, so we cannot issue the order of conditions, so we technically can't really vote on it. However, you said your piece, I don't think there's any other concerns that have come up. What we would typically do here is continue it to the next hearing, and then once we get that file number issued, we'll take the vote and then issue the order to you. So at that time,
Sir,
Yes.
we can
we can, well,
vote,
yes,
and we
okay.
have voted. That vote is over. It passed 6-0. You can let us in advance next time if you want to hold
Yes,
off for a
my bad.
DEP number, but
Yes.
that one went through.
Yes. So, the issue.
And I didn't do that deliberately, it just slipped by me also, okay?
Yes, so that said, so your order has been voted on. That said, we can't issue the actual document until that file.
Understood.
Yes.
So as soon as that comes through, I'll get everyone's signatures and we'll
Even
get that.
after the
So not-
meeting, if
not fully
anybody wants to come and look or contact me,
So-
pass my information, even if you wanna throw me an email, feel free.
It's not fully
Appreciate that.
approved until the DEP number comes through, okay?
Take care.
Thank you very much.
But then I, after the fact, somebody might say, oh,
Thank you. We're gonna move on to the next case if I may.
thank you for your
guys.
time.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is part C on the new hearings. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for a roadway extension and associated utilities installation. The address is Orchard Hill Park Drive and Pioneer Drive, map and parcels 369-1-2, 369-1-3, and 369-1-4, DEP file number 199-1175.
Is this an okay?
And
Yeah, that's, you can set up there, you can
Yeah, I don't
Click
want to crowd everybody.
this would be better for us if you would,
for the camera.
because then you can, it works for the camera well, and please just give us your name and affiliation.
Sure. Matt Bonbacy with Polar Engineering, we're the civil engineers on the project.
Well, can you say that all again and make sure we get it?
Yeah, sure. Matt Bonbacy with Polar Engineering, we're the civil engineers on the project. The applicant is the city of Leominster.
And I'll just say, because you might not be familiar, you're more than welcome to stay for this, but you can leave as well. You're not required to stay. So,
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Good evening. So our project is a roadway project off of Orchard Hill Park Drive, being done by the city. The city has been granted a grant from the state for economic development. I think it's a $2 million grant. With that money, they're building this roadway for potential future development, which might come at a later date. This application is just for the roadway. The land itself, which is the right of way of the road, has already been granted to the city as a friendly taking. It was formerly owned by Pioneer Park Drive. The project is at the corner here of Orchard Hill Park Drive and Pioneer Drive. You can picture this as Target up here in the project, that road coming down, and then the industrial development of Pioneer Drive this way. The project proposes a roadway extending directly off the end of Orchard Hill Park Drive, aligned with that road, up into a cul-de-sac at the top of the road. Presumably there could be development over here or over here, and again, that would be at a later date. Right now, the project is just the construction of the roadway. The roadway is a 1,083 linear foot roadway, 34 foot paved right of way, 5 foot sidewalks, and curbing and associated stormwater, sewer, electric, telephone, lighting, all the things that you would expect with the roadway. This project has been prepared in conjunction with the city and the engineering department. So there's been a few different iterations, and they have reviewed the project as it's come along and as we were creating it. And now we're in front of the commission for the conservation, for the notice of intent. Resource areas on site have previously been delineated. I suspect many of the members remember the ANRADs that were filed for this project. There was an ANRAD filed for these 4 parcels over here. The ANRAD numbers were DEP files number 199-1165 and 1166. There's a bordering vegetated wetland down here. This is that open meadow area we were looking at when we were doing the sidewalk. There's also a intermittent stream and associated wetland off-site underneath Orchard Hill Park Drive, shown here in blue. And then there's wetlands on the other side of the road where that stream comes through and out. Work for our project is only in the buffer zone. The buffer zone is shown in green here, and it's really just this small swath of road about 200 or 300 feet, which is in the buffer zone. The remainder of the project is outside of it. This configuration might look a little silly, might not come straight in, or why the bend that is. And it has a lot to do with topography on the site. There's about 80 feet of topography change from down here to up here, so it's quite a bit to mitigate. So a road coming out and straight up would be buried 10, 15 feet into the ground. It wouldn't be viable for future lot development. So we've designed the road to come up, provide a slope that will serve the future industrial development and still come up to a grade which is more or less the existing grade at the top. The slopes that we've held are largely governed by good engineering practice or the subdivision regulations. So at the top of the cul-de-sac, a 2% slope, we'll need a level landing up there. A 3% slope for the first 150 feet down here, because trucks or vehicles come down, we can't have them coming down too steep. And about 6% slope for the remainder of the roadway, which is just typically the maximum we want to use for industrial development. There could be a lot of trucks and things using the road, so we can't have the slope too steep. As previously noted, we did look at a few different iterations of this, just to bring up one that the commission had mentioned while we were out in the sidewalk is up this, which came up Pioneer Drive and up this way. I think there's a lot of reasons aside from topography, like sewer, water, gas, enforcement that comes through here, which makes that not really feasible. Even just from a topography standpoint, there's about 650 feet coming around like this. So I calculated it out real quick just because I was curious, and that would put us about 23 feet below existing grade right here at the cul-de-sac, which again wouldn't really be feasible for future development. And a lot of this is governed by different subdivision requirements or engineering practice for roadway design, so tangents in between curves, minimum curve radius coming up for a truck coming through, things like that. So we did spend a lot of time looking at it, but arrived at this concept. We did, as part of the project, provide a stormwater narrative for runoff. Runoff from the project was caught in deep sun-hooded catch basins, collected in a large storm drain down the center of the roadway and discharged into the Pioneer Drive drainage infrastructure. There's a large detention retention basin across the street over here. When Pioneer Drive was constructed in 1999, they actually accounted for about 15.4 acres of impervious off this development. It was conceptualized at the time that would happen as part of Pioneer Drive. That obviously didn't happen, but the basin was constructed for that impervious area. Our project is about 1.3 acres impervious, so obviously much less than was contemplated at the time. So that basin should have capacity in that some for our project. Erosion and sediment controls will be maintained throughout the project. In particular, a double row of sediment control at the bottom of the hill here. Obviously, that's the most sensitive spot and some of the steepest topography. A slip will be prepared as part of the project documents that the contractor will have to provide by, and will be an EPA construction journal. Permit filed for the project relative to erosion controls, which will include monitoring, inspections, and additional detail on erosion control measures. That said, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that, man. Okay, now I'll open it up to questions and comments from our commissioners.
That was a good tour today.
I have a question. You mentioned the minimum turn radius for the trucks there. What is that minimum radius, and is that just about as narrow as you can get there? Like, does that preclude like moving that road up a little bit out of that buffer?
Yeah, it's the 150-foot center line radius through here. That's the minimum per the subdivision regs, and also just for the type of use. There's going to be trucks which will be coming and swinging around large. So yeah, that is the minimum we could really squeeze it to.
Okay.
And how big is that turnaround at the top? If you have a 54-footer larger tractor trailer in there, is that's what's expected, correct?
Yeah, it's actually, that was one element we went a little bigger than the subdivision regulations, because we expect the truck might have to come in here and
Spin it around.
bang you in like a prototypical cul-de-sac could. So I can grab the exact dimension, I forget off, but it was slightly bigger, I remember, because we did that.
Any thoughts?
Where, can you just point out where it is in the buffer zone there?
Yeah, sure, it's this stretch of road, just right here, this work here is in the buffer zone.
It's always 200 or 300 feet of the entire buffer zone.
Yep, it's, about 200 linear feet of roadway.
And where is the, city border?
The existing water line?
Town line,
Yep,
town line between, Lancaster and,
Lunenburg,
Lunenburg and,
That's all.
Leominster.
yeah, way down.
Yeah,
And
it's all- that's
Pioneer,
all flow.
Pioneer begins in Lunenburg.
That's the other end.
This is closer to Target.
Yep.
Yeah, Target's like just off to the left, off the map.
Yeah.
It's the edge of the building.
Any other thoughts from the commissioners? Okay, then we'll open this hearing to public comment. Is there anybody who would like to comment on this particular hearing? Yes, sir.
Hi,
Please
Bill
say who
Brady,
you are and where you live.
Bill Brady, Ward 1, City Council. I live at 214 Harvard Street, so this is literally in my backyard. Speaking to the developer, Mr. Lasati, and yourself during the City Council meeting, we've been assured that the buffer zone will be protected, especially a lot of the trees, because of the amount of housing units that really is in sight distance of Sky Lane. So it is very much concern of the residents that the parking lot lights and things like that don't encroach on there. And we've been assured that that was taken into consideration in the plan. I just wanted to make sure we're all
Thank
kind
you.
of on the same page on this one.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate the point that can show up in aerial just to show where the road is relative to the overall area. Just beautiful. I know this is land owned by Pioneer Park Drive. I believe this is City of Leominster land, and this is conservation land here. So this is our road right now. And check, the same questions will come up if any future development were to happen.
Is that city land, conservation land?
I think that might actually be Leominster Land Trust.
Okay.
I think there's one parcel that's LLT and one that's city, but I'm not sure which one that is.
Okay, any thoughts from the public? Then we'll close that part of the hearing. Turn to our agent. Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, so, based off of the, presentation today and what Matt's shared with me ahead of this, stormwater report, stormwater checklist, you know, they seem to be complying with everything in regards to the Wetland Protection Act. They are, getting pretty close to that wet meadow down there, but, you know, there's not a ton that we can really say or should say to prevent that, in my opinion. So based on the presentation and everything ahead of today, I would recommend that we approve the order of conditions.
Okay. And noting that there is a DEP file number for this. Move along, just noting. But entertain a motion to approve this order of conditions for this
So made.
particular street. Thank you, Commissioner Ridley. Is there a second?
I'll make this.
Commissioner Chambers, thank you, sir.
All right, I'll take the rest of the commission's vote by roll call. Stephanie Quinlan,
Aye.
Mike Seegi,
Aye.
Bob Seacard.
Aye.
And Richard Gulick.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 6-0 and the order is granted. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir, appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time this morning.
Oh, thank you for the time, it was good. Good presentation.
Appreciate the site visit today also. Yeah, for the record, there were 4 of us on that site, because 5 of us.
And the dog, and the dog. Go back to the dog.
And
And a dog,
Jackson,
yes,
and
yes.
Nick and I. Okay, moving on to part C, item C in the new hearings. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act.
Or that would be A,
Yeah.
which did see.
Which I did say C. I meant to say A. Thank you.
Okay.
Part A. Wetlands Protection Act, the Leominster Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family house. Address is on View Street, number not given, map and parcel 123-27. There is a DEP file number, 199-1174. If you're here to present, please state your name and affiliation.
My name is Anthony Felice, I'm with Haley Ward, here on behalf of the applicant, James Pemberini, Jim, and Jim is here tonight as well. And so I believe you have in front of you the 11/17 plan, which is actually the full-size plan, small project. I think I mentioned it in the past, the DPW typically requires no larger than 11/17 plan for water and sewer clearance sign off, so we try to kill two birds with one stone and have one plan satisfy all the places we have to go. So as was mentioned, we're here at View Street. There is no number. The assessors does not have a number. This lot's been in existence probably since, I think it was February 5th, 1960 is when it actually got created. It can be a little confusing. This is the roads that envelop this. It's View Street, Daly Street, top left of the plan, Grand View running north-south on the plan in front of you. And then View Street actually is parallel to Daly Street. So it was back in the early 60s or late 50s is when the city of Leominster actually got this right of way, View Street. So it's actually a city layout. It's a public street back then. So what we're proposing tonight is a single family home. We're here because we are in the 200-foot riparian zone. This is associated with the Leominster Brook, which is top right of the plan there. We are out of the 100-foot buffer zone, the wetlands associated with that. What we tried to do is, and the lot now is, I think some of you may have gone out there, it sounds like. The lot was previously cleared, I think, probably in the 60s when this whole area was developed as part of that. So I believe it's lawn. Maybe a couple trees are left on this lot now, but it's been grass for quite some time. And so we propose to have the lot tucked up to the bottom of the page, trying to keep it as far out of the riverfront as possible. House ends up being about 170 feet away from the brook. So a little corner of the house ends up being within that zone, and then we have a portion of the driveway and a portion of the pavement extension of View Street to access that up on the high side of the lot. The utilities would tie out through the bottom side of the lot, connecting into sewer drainage, the foundation drain tying into the existing drain manhole that's there, and then water coming out to Daly Street. You can see on the top of the page there the drain and sewage easement. So actually the existing drain line, I believe, was put in when this whole area was developed again in the 60s or so. And then there's the trunk sewer line that parallels the wetland line along the top right of the page. We're not tying in way down there. There's a sewer line that's up higher, fortunately. But yeah, so there's existing sewer and drain for us to tie into there. It's a quick overview for you, if you have any questions.
Okay, I'll start briefly. Is there a 200-foot line from the brook here, from Leominster Brook?
Yes, that's what I mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not missing where it is on the exact.
So if you look in the top left, it's labeled approximate 200-foot
Oh,
riparian
nice,
zone.
it's up here. Okay, thank you.
And so they have that top right corner of the house that sneaks in there, and then a portion of the pavement as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anthony, when were you last at the site?
January, February?
Okay.
Yep. Snow, the last time I was there, that's the picture I took there.
How long ago was the erosion control that's at the bottom of the hill there? When was that put in place?
Oh, I don't know. Where's that?
So I had been out to the site with the property owner, Carl DeMassa, and he gave me a little tour around, and he showed me that at the bottom of the hill down by Leominster Brook, there is some erosion control down along near the perimeter of the edge of the wetland down there.
Okay.
And as you might recall, across the street, that big lot over there, I think it's lot 1 on the maps, was forested a couple of years ago. You can see on the satellite maps, but it was all cleared within the last few years. I'll just stop myself right there and just say, I did talk to, DEP, and they suggested that, well, they told me that that lot, even though it's the same property owner, that lot should be treated separately from this filing,
Absolutely.
because this isn't,
That's okay.
yeah, it's not, we
Yes,
shouldn't get
they
tied
be
up with
different
that,
filings.
yes,
Right.
yeah.
This is within the 200 feet,
Yeah.
fits our jurisdiction.
But so I just so I understand, so are you, this is across View Street, is that where, is that the area we're talking about?
Across that horseshoe, kinda, yeah, just to the,
Kind of top right of
right.
the plan?
Yep. So that's just to shed some light on what they were saying about the
Okay.
erosion controls and stuff. I don't expect you to know about that situation necessarily, but, yeah, if you have any information on that, as questions come up, that would be helpful, so. but-
I mean, I
There were
don't,
4 of us who were there today for a site visit. Again, Commissioner Rayland, Commissioner Siki, and Nick and I, for the record. But I'll open it up at this point to other commissioners, and I'll comment more later.
Anthony, when this area was first opened, you know who opened that up? It looks like they brought an awful lot of fill into that area. Correct me if I'm wrong.
on this lot,
Yeah, like up in this
I
area
don't-
right here.
I don't know anything.
So you don't know who opened this up, this whole,
This lot that's green,
right,
I think was, like I said, back in the 50s or 60s when this whole area was developed. That's been lawn, I think, for quite some time, was my understanding. So anything else across the street that you're talking about, I'm unaware of that work or what.
the first house, that they put that brand new house that they.
Oh, up there, yeah, that was done a couple of years ago. That's like up,
Who was it?
yeah, I think that was up you come in on the other side of View Street here, and that's a little bit up high and dry out of everything. Yeah, that was, I think they maybe finished that a year ago or
I'm
so.
just curious as to
Something
who
like
opened that originally. I'm assuming that when they opened that lot, put that house in there, that's when they brought in all that fill and pushed it to the edge of the brook line or whatever, or closer to the brook line. I'm just curious who it was.
I believe from, and I would suggest maybe we should move away from this line of questioning for this hearing specifically, but I'll say that, from what I've been told from him, the property owner himself, I believe that if it wasn't Carl DeMassa involved with that, he should know who did the work back there. So we can,
Take that offline.
follow up on that on a later hearing, yeah, or
Well, it's
later
just
on
a
in this
matter
week.
of curiosity.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's,
not sure who did the work or.
for me, it's hard to separate what's happening here and any impact from there on. This is a very steep slope. It's bare open dirt. And at the bottom, there's basically a fence,
That
plastic
stockpile is
fence,
like
for erosion
right around
control.
here. on the
And
side,
that's
just
been
like
knocked
over
over
here,
in
so.
several places.
Where were they?
But
Buried.
leave it
Actually
back to
buried.
you guys to
Four.
talk, so.
Yeah,
Four separate areas, the fencing has been breached.
But that really has nothing to do
Right.
with
And we
this.
are proposing erosion control for this project. I have a row of straw walls and silt fence going at the top of that slope.
At the top of, on the page, on the top?
Yeah, at the top of the edge of this.
Dotted line.
There's like a gravel road that goes through there, basically at the top of the slope. And we saw, look at the topography, and we're not doing any work any further away. So there's no reason to not keep the erosion control tight to this work.
Yep.
So I showed it up on the top of that slope, that
Well, that's the direction that
everything goes that way.
go.
It's the beginning of the erosion, is that site right here, because it's wide open, right? It's totally open, there's no erosion control on it. And then that flows into this bank, that's really not in good shape right now.
So you would think that the erosion control would be better served in the green area, closer to where the work is.
Well, they could do some around here, but there's
Reinforce.
still impact on the rest of the site from this site, so I don't disconnect them totally.
Right.
Yeah, so we propose erosion control up here, on the edge of this gravel path. This gravel road that goes here, which is a edge of erosion, I think, are you referring to this slope here that seems to be, it's exposed?
This is all bare, for those who weren't here, this is all bare, there's a house here.
Yeah.
Right, but all of this is bare, it's just all bare dirt.
Yeah.
And then it goes down, and there was an attempt to put, some fence put at the bottom, but it's just been blown right over.
Yeah, it's too late now.
Um, But that's not part of your work, right?
Right.
Right, that's why I asked
No,
when
I
you were
see.
last there, you see that now.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, yeah. But yeah, that's why we're looking at, you know, again, I saw this, you know, get this steep slope in the car, let's put erosion control there. We always wanna keep our erosion control tight to our work.
May I ask why it's not there already, given that it's bare, open dirt?
I'm submitting this project, I'm not aware of that there, I went up there, there was snow.
The property, it's just bare dirt right now, and it's contributing to what's across the street, so,
The green lot, the area in green, to be clear.
yeah, the area
This
green.
is all exposed now?
That has
Yes.
been disturbed, yeah.
Without, it was exposed without a notice of intent being filed.
I didn't,
You didn't
Unaware
know
of that.
Or an order of conditions, so it's already violated, because it's within the 200 feet, so it's already gone against the Wetland Protection Act requirement, so it's
There's no
a late
grass left.
filing in that sense, there's no grass left
If
at
there
all.
was any grass there.
Yep.
Totally
it's
gone.
gone, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's.
And there's a pile of fill, actually, there's a
On
pile
there.
of fill on that property.
Yeah, it shows on your, you can see it on the picture.
The fill, I like, just like to point out, the stockpile fill on the lot right now is outside of the 200-foot riparian zone, so that is technically outside of our jurisdiction. I might be speaking a little early on this, but based on, the situation in that general area is kind of a mess right now because of mainly what's going on across the street from this project. As others have stated, you know, this area, the last time I was out there was about 2-3 weeks ago, was also covered in snow, so I didn't realize until today either. But all of that is disturbed area, as other commissioners have said, there's no lawn existing there currently. So barring any other concerns or issues with this site, I would recommend that we ask them to put in erosion control where they're suggesting sooner rather than later. And I don't see why, well, I'll reword that. I don't believe the fill and the tree clearing across U Street from this lot should necessarily hold up this filing. Especially since, you know, the entire area's been disturbed. I think it would do more good to get the erosion control up for this now, get the work done on that site sooner rather than later and get it stabilized. So to not contribute further to what's going on downslope and across the street.
That is correct, but it immediately takes us into an instead of a permission, forgiveness approach, which we try not to immediately jump into.
I mean, if I can interject, I mean, and Mr. Perry can jump in if you'd like. My understanding is we're not in a huge rush.
Sure.
So we're not looking to try and wrap this up tonight. I think, if I'm understanding things correctly, I mean, if it was possible to talk about this lot as its own entity, to flush out any other concerns the commission may have on this lot as an individual, and then, you know, take some notes from that, and at the meantime, also, you know, maybe Nick can coordinate with the property owner on this and get some things out there to help address some of your concerns, just in a relative sense to the nature of the site as well. I don't think we'd be opposed to a continuation tonight by any means to help work this out and make the commission feel much better.
Expect you can get that.
Yeah, I mean, so, but I'm gonna hope that since we're here, if it's worth talking about the lot as well.
Commissioner Ridley?
I think one of the issues is that the commission feels like it's been blindsided
Yeah.
by the fact that the work has already been done out there on that lot, and we don't have any paperwork, and most of the time it wouldn't be a real big problem.
Yeah.
However,
Yeah.
at this particular site, it is a problem.
Yeah.
And it has the potential to pollute one of the major waterways in the city of Leominster, which is Winusonoc Brook. I mean, even the fencing that they put in, and again, this is, you know, it's not your fault, but these are the concerns that the commission has.
Yeah.
I mean, the attempt to put in that buffering at the bottom of that was, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you could have sent your kids up to do it, because it's breached in three different areas already, and nobody seems to be aware of it.
Partly because they didn't put one at the top also.
Right.
It needs to be done really soon.
Right, but they're
So
gonna
we're
put
get in
one,
touch with whoever's responsible for that property.
and they're gonna put one up at the top of this lot, which is definitely gonna decrease the possibility for this particular area alone. and that's it. The rest of it's just standing out there.
If you would, now clarify for me any connection between the green property here, you know, the one we're dealing with in this particular hearing, and the rest of that clear property in terms of people involved, ownership, or anything,
I
is there any connection?
I believe, it is all currently the same property owner, which is Damasa.
Is this just a paper street or is it an approved street? Does the city own it?
Yes. The city owns it, but it's not,
Oh, aren't they?
It hasn't been paved, and I'm not aware that this commission received a notice of intent from the city for that road.
It's my understanding if that was to be paved, then the city would have to apply for, a new NOI for that portion of this
down,
work.
down there.
Yep, I'd like to have it grassed or paved or something, not just
Right.
straight there. I encourage the other commissioners to take a look at this site.
Yeah.
And check that out if you like there. Yes.
Yeah, I've got a little catching up to do too, but I do have a couple of questions for you as far as the proposed parcel or site.
Yeah.
As it is it naturally graded from years now, or has Phil brought into the site already?
That's a good question. It looks like there might have been some fill brought in.
I think there's a pile, there's a stockpile, I think.
Stockpile, yeah.
There's a stockpile of soil, and then there's a pile of rocks and stumps. So
The
there's
grading,
also-
where the grading of the parcel though appears to be probably used as rear yards from the families that were living there. That
When
looks
you
like
wanna know if
Yeah.
it's original grade.
Looks like it's been graded there for a while.
Yeah, I think,
if it's
I think
original
it
grade is
actually
the question he's asking.
Yeah, and I,
well, original grade when, that's a good question.
Well, how
Yeah,
long's
you
the
make the
pile
point,
of-
you make the point that it was grassed in the fifties or sixties,
Yeah.
so let's go back to the fifties and sixties
Sure.
and look at that original grade. And then we can put that on a level playing field.
I don't understand what you're talking about, but
You're saying that the lot was grassed in the fifties.
that's what it appears as though, yeah,
Okay.
when this whole area was developed, correct?
So if we can look at the grade in the fifties,
Okay,
then we have a starting point. Now we can look at the grade now and see if it's been
Okay.
filled
Raised or lowered?
or lowered.
Yeah.
to what end, I
We can,
guess?
yeah, take a look at historical topos.
Right.
I guess to what end, I don't know what other information that's gonna provide for you.
The second, I'm sorry, the second question, sorry Ken, the second question was, will there be more cubic yards added to this site? Well, I think what we're concerned about now is that there's been siltation fence barriers in place and they've been violated.
Yeah, I think
Not on
that-
this property.
But I think
Down
adding
down
fill or
that
taking
way.
fill away is not gonna change that, you know,
No.
it's disturbed earth.
It's already wide open
Yeah,
dirt,
right.
so whatever
Whether
it
we
is,
bring
it's just
fill in or
garbage.
take fill out, that's gonna absolutely not change that condition whatsoever. We could not change it one bit and you're still gonna have that issue. You know, it's just having exposed earth, doesn't matter if you're bringing fill in or taking it out, it's the exposed earth is the concern.
And really, if you do, when you go there and you look at the backyards, I don't know if it's obvious to me, but I would anticipate, or I would guess, that this was open land and the people enjoyed it as their own backyard. And it looks like the natural grading from their foundations, which was probably 8 or 12 inches, whatever is standard, seems to be graded towards the road. It looks like it's been there an awful long time.
And some of that fill looks like it's ripped to me, look pretty new.
Well, the new stuff, the pile.
And when the fence was put down below, so it looks like it kind of looks like it's all part of one project, because it's all just open dirt. Whether it's technically or not, something behind it, it's the same owner and it's all clear.
Yeah, if I were a betting man, I would say that whoever was doing the work over here put that pile of fill
Part
on
of the
that
work.
property. But, you know, it's,
Doing both at the same time.
yeah, it's probably a stockpile for them.
I'd be curious about that. When was that cleared, and was it done at the same time as the rest of the clearing across the street? Just curious.
Well,
Commissioner?
I suspect that if it was cleared in the fifties or sixties, that there's been, it's overgrown, so this has obviously been grubbed and rooted.
Well, but I think, like Commissioner was saying, it was used as a backyard.
Yeah.
So I think it was being mowed.
Or based on the satellite images I've seen, I see satellite imagery that does not include that newer house up there, and shows this all as forested and that as a grassy,
So this what?
yeah,
so- okay.
a grassy area.
That's
I would expect
stockpile. stockpile has not been there for.
No, that's.
The
Very
stockpile's
well.
new, since the.
No, but it was all grass before?
That's
There's
from,
no
that's
growth
how
on
it's
that
it appears,
stockpile.
yeah.
And then it begs the question too, if you're gonna build a house there, why would you take that and pile that, like, it almost looks like right in the middle of where you're gonna put the house?
Well,
Now,
I think
the
it's
first thing-
probably for over here. I
But the
mean,
first thing you have to do is to go in and move that pile.
Maybe for across the street.
You gotta move the pile, or you have to spread it out over the lot and change the grade. I don't know why that pile was there to begin with.
So, given that we're dealing with this separately from across the street, at least certainly legally, if not fully in my mind, and my connection of water flow and so on, what would the commission, any thoughts? I mean, I have a suggestion, but any thoughts as to where to proceed tonight? If they're willing to do a continuance, consider things done
I have
here. We gotta see something done with the property,
I mean,
the
I-
sooner the better.
if I could.
Please, sir.
If, I seem to think that I heard an offer to continue tonight and place the erosion controls where they've got them placed here. That would give us a good idea if they're gonna be effective or not. And I would not be opposed to allowing that to happen. Whether that gravel pile gets moved or not, any place you move it, it's gonna be worse than where it
It's the
is right
same
now.
thing, if you move it across the
It's,
street.
it's gonna be worse, it's gonna be worse
This
across the street, so.
pile appears to be out of the buffer zone.
Yeah, that's how
It
the
is, it's just,
riverfront area.
what we're concerned with is that, obviously the water was sheeting, and this has nothing to do with
Yeah,
your problem. And it was sheeting downhill, and that's just another area that's gonna start to roll down into the buffer zone. I guess we can't make judgment on what might happen or what might not happen. And I'm not saying remove it, because I don't even know if you need it, you're gonna be excavating to put in a foundation, so it's probably useless to you anyways, but the idea of having erosion controls placed on that street, I think is a good idea. It'll be a short circuit of a way to get around this, and then we can deal with the bigger problem, separately, but someone that's trying to build a house on a legal lot on that street, I mean,
Yeah, cause I'm also just trying to be cognizant of the applicant too, he's the one looking to build the house. I don't wanna put him on the hook for trying to rectify any other.
past
all
problem.
the
No,
other
and I don't
issues.
think that that's what the
No, and I'm
commission's
not,
asking
no,
you
I
to do.
understand that, no, I'm just,
If I can just
Yeah.
repeat what Commissioner Siki was saying, was we do a continuance.
Yeah.
If we did that, we would like it, erosion control set up, preferably the wattles and the fence, both, because it's just bare dirt.
We can't
Can't do the
advise
fence.
on
Thank
type
you.
specific
Thank
erosion
you.
controls, but yeah.
Anyways, get something put in there before we see you again if possible.
Right.
Because that's an immediate concern, and then come back and explain the plan of all that. In the meantime, I would ask our agent to investigate what happened across the street, how, find out more about when that all got cleared, so we can do something about that. We're not waiting for a notice of intent from across the street to deal with that cliff and the tremendous erosion that's there going into the Manusnack Brook.
Chairman Gould, this is, he's suggesting that they're gonna put the erosion control in for this particular lot, okay?
Come around here and hear what you have to say about how to work on this site
Right, but I don't
specifically.
think we can require
And we can
him
move
to
it along.
fix the fence, that's what I'm saying.
No, we're not.
We're not.
I am not.
Alright.
No,
I'll
I
be-
was
I'll
saying
be-
separately,
Right.
I'm asking that to be addressed separately. I'm gonna leave it off the hook totally.
No,
It's
This
not
is,
these
this is a
gentlemen's
nice, this is a
responsibility.
nicely proposed Band-Aid
Right.
on a tough situation.
Right,
so
I
just,
agree.
so I did show proposed erosion control on plans. So is it basically we look at putting in that erosion control?
You're going, where your
Both.
streets, exactly where
So this was to cover,
here's the street.
yeah, that's the right of way. Yep, that's the
You're
right
gonna
of
do
way.
it on this side of the street?
No, over here. Cause this is a gravel road.
Which is better for us.
Yeah,
Right, we
better
wanna,
for
we
us.
wanna
Yeah,
protect
okay.
any
Or,
construction that might happen.
right, we'll get
Because
more
if you're gonna
protection on
access
that
this
side.
lot, you're gonna be driving here, you're not gonna be driving.
Isn't
all
that
this lot.
outside of this property and the lot that we're considering in this hearing?
It was within the
Basically?
right of way, it's within the city.
City
right
right away.
Okay.
Wouldn't you think it was better? Do you have a?
I'm okay with
I'd
that.
be happy to put it up here,
Yeah.
but I think it's gonna hurt, it
Right.
sounds like what you're trying to
We're not
achieve.
putting it on the other property. per se, it's going in the right of way, that's all I'm checking, because then we're connecting these projects again.
Right.
I actually like the way it is, because he's within 4 feet of height from here to here. This all drops down to 30 feet down here.
That would help.
But that's what I'm saying, I think that's when I was looking at this, is you want the erosion control at the top of the slope.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Unless you're disturbing the slope, then you want them down at the bottom maybe as well.
right.
It sounds like that might be some of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it'll be fine.
Okay. Any other thoughts from the commissioners before we open this to the public? Thank you. Any thoughts or comments from the public on this particular hearing? Okay, seeing no questions, I'll turn to our agent. Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, so I'd recommend that we, ask the applicant to get the erosion controls proposed on the plan installed, as soon as possible. I'd like to see them in by the end of the week, since we're gonna have,
If you can.
pretty nice weather, and I'd like to get those in before the next big rain event.
Great.
So if we could get those in by the end of the week, and I would recommend that the commission continue this hearing until the next meeting on April 25th, after a point that I can, contact the property owner and investigate where this project ends and where the next project begins, and, we can kind of start to extricate those two parcels, so.
Fair enough.
Be good.
If it's okay, if I could just interrupt, so, all right, so we'll look into trying to get this taken care of, but and just in the meantime, are you gonna reach out to the property owner?
Yes.
The reason I bring that up is, if you're gonna talk to a property owner and you may say, geez, you know what, you probably should do X, Y, and Z. If we're trying to put erosion controls in for this, it makes sense to kind of make sure everyone's on the same page, and maybe
Good
as a
point.
joint effort,
Agreed,
and so.
but these are separate.
Good
You
point.
wanted them
No,
separate?
but I'm just,
Well, you
but I'm
I'd
just
like to
thinking,
keep them
I'm thinking logically, to try and get you what you want in the most expeditious way.
Yeah.
I'd hate to, say Jim goes out, let's get, XYZ farm out there to put the erosion control in, and that goes in. And then you talk to the property owner, and then, oh geez, I wish I would've known you were doing that. I would've paid him to go put the erosion control that you're looking for
That's a good
somewhere
point.
else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I appreciate the efficiency
I'm just trying to
point,
think
but
of, trying to
you're
get here.
connecting the two projects, which is something you didn't wanna do. Then it
That's
does
fine.
that, I'm trying to avoid that for
No,
you.
but I'm trying to
So,
better the situation to protect the environment, which is what
we
we're trying to do.
understand that we can
I
talk to
was just
both
bringing
parties.
that up.
Sir, we
just-
understand we can talk to both parties at the same time.
Okay.
Let's keep this one on this one.
Yep.
Does that make sense? Otherwise, otherwise you're not gonna have where to put it now. And approval from us to move forward. Thank you. Okay, so in that case, I'll take a motion to continue this hearing, with acknowledgement that the applicant will move forward and install the, some form of the, right,
Erosion control of some kind, yeah.
that gets approved by Nick before.
That's, yeah,
we-
absolutely, we'd have to obviously
Okay,
coordinate
so
with Nick.
You can't recommend, but he can approve. And then that be installed preferably before our next meeting, then you can come tell us more about what's gonna happen with the property and how fast you can change this property into a form that does not contribute, put dirt down into and soil down into the brook. So
Well, so
whatever's
that's
gonna happen here,
Now,
we'd
that's a
like,
separate,
we,
that's a separate.
no, sir, it's coming off of this property and then it moves toward that brook. That's why you're under our jurisdiction.
Right,
It's
that's what the
200
erosion
feet.
controls will prevent that from happening from this property.
So in that case,
Motion's
I'm
on
asking
the
for a
floor.
motion for the continuance, and just as a reminder to everybody, you need permission before you do these kind of property things. Okay, that should not have been dug up prior to approval by this commission. Okay,
Motion is so made.
thank you. Commissioner Bridlin, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinlan?
I'll take the rest of the commission's vote by roll call. Jim Chambers?
Aye.
Mike Seekey? Aye. Bob Seacard? And Richard Gully?
Aye.
Alright, motion is continued until April 25th.
Thank you very much for your time,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next is in part D, we have no continued hearings tonight. So moving on to the regular meeting business. Number 1, new business, modification to an existing order of conditions, which is DEP file number 199-1144.
And for the purpose of this hearing, I will be recusing myself from the commission.
Commissioner Siki is stepping up and telling audience member,
And,
or applicant, or whatever.
for the record, I'm James M. Siki. I'm a 40-year resident of Leominster. I reside at 270 Hill Street. I'm here to talk today about a property that I own on Lake Samoset. It's 200 Lakeshore Drive. I have an emergency situation that I feel I need to have an extension or an emergency order to correct before someone gets hurt. And that is a retaining wall that was put onto the property by the power company probably in the 20s or the 30s. So I'm gonna do a couple of things.
If you would, sir, I'll just remind some of the commissioners what the property is for.
The property
What you're doing with
is, that property is zoned for Residence A or recreational facilities. And what we're going to do is put a no bedroom, it's already started, the order of condition approved, of a no bedroom recreational cabin that will allow us to store goods inside. We have some special needs situations where we have to have ramps and other things. But it's basically gonna be a place where family and friends can sit and look at the beauty of nature and enjoy themselves.
It's the last structure out on this peninsula.
It is the last structure on the peninsula, and that's what I'm going to. I'll bring out something that you might find interesting, thank you. This is the original plan for Lake Samoset, which was, I believe this was drawn up in the 20s or the 30s. And it was originally designed, this was, Lake Samoset was a man-made lake by the Whitney Carriage family and was a conservation area. The area in question that we're talking about is right along here. This is lovingly known as the peninsula. There are about 10 cabins out there now. There were previously 3 cabins out on this end of this peninsula. What we're talking about is, if you notice right here, there's a line, and this is, again, from the Registry of Deeds from the 30s, there are supposed to be 2,614 campsites out there individually. And it evolved, morphed into housing all the way around. This area that they call a park is all owned by the Landowners Association, so 25-foot buffer all the way around, not relevant to what we're talking about today. But when they built this, the Leominster Power Company was the utility of choice at that time. And they chose the most narrow area of the lake right here to run power overhead, which is still there today, has evolved and become more complex, to service the existing structures that were out on the peninsula. This easement happens to be on my property, and I have to maintain it for safety reasons and other things. There has been someone along the way took, I believe it was Leominster Power and Light, our tags on the telephone pole, put in a turnaround up here in a service area for the trucks to be able to come up and service the equipment on the poles. Been there for a long time, I would say at least the 50s. So they've put in a retaining wall that was poorly constructed from the start. I've got pictures of the retaining wall in its current state. I'll give you guys one set, you can share it here if you would. And this is for the other side. You can see that the retaining wall is undermined, made out of telephone poles, it's rotted. It's not going to support any, yes. It is not gonna support too much equipment, too much longer. And the trucks were much smaller, much lighter, and they have, by easement, I have to give them access And that's the only thing that they can use on the property to service the poles.
You see the wolf is a
So why your responsibility and not the power companies?
Because the power company has an easement on my property, legal easement on my property. And as such, if you talk to, trust me, I had to co-join all of those lots that I had to co-join out there to get an acre and a half. Was a massive task, different owners all over the place. And they warned me right up front that even though I have no trespassing signs up there, even though I've got a gate up there now because of the construction, if someone gets hurt on my property, I am ultimately liable. So I really need to repair that, and what I'm asking the commission to allow me to do is to replace it with a more stable and state-of-the-art retaining wall system. It's not going to require too much in the way of excavation. These are 2,000-pound blocks made by the Wachusett Precast Company. They will be permanent. They look like stone on the outside. They're made for retaining wall purposes. They sit on a bed of gravel, about 6 inches deep, so the excavation is minimal. If you look at the, huh? Yeah.
pretty close to the water.
Oh, yeah, and it's steep. I mean, that bank is steep.
Yeah.
The poles are in the water. This side of the peninsula is less steep, and it's further away from the water. So what I would like to propose is that I repair that in any way the commission wants me to, whether it's to remove it, whether it's to leave it alone, whether to repair it. I have some ideas for it, but I'll leave that as secondary. But I would like to be able to put a safe and properly sized turnaround on the other side where the grade is less and it's further away from the water. So I think I'm making the situation better, and it's a situation that I really can't change.
Is that paved?
No, there's no paved, no pervious, nothing's paved up there, it's dirt. And it's gonna remain gravel.
That's why it all rotted away.
Huh?
That's why it all rotted.
Oh, yeah, just
underneath.
old telephone poles, I mean, and they're strapped together and.
Anything further, sir?
Huh?
Anything further?
Yeah, it appears that, as a matter of fact, it appears that there are gonna be 6 to 7 trees. I minimally, through this whole project, this property is gonna be natural. What's there now, we're working on a trust right now with nothing more that will stay in my family. It's for the nieces and nephews, and again, we have a couple of special needs things we've got to take care of. It will not be built on again after this is done. It will be naturalized. Our goal is to make it look like the Bridge of Flowers, with properly planted plants all over the place. But in my original order of conditions, I promised to, anytime I had to take a tree out, I would put 2 back. And we've lived with that. I think there are gonna be 7 trees that are gonna have to come out. And I've asked Nick, there's also one that was hit by lightning that's dead, that's on my neighbor's property, really. But I told her I would take it out for her as long as my guys were there with a crane. And I will replace 7 trees with 10 or 11 trees. I'm looking at, spruces and things that it's all upland varieties in there. But I'd like to get something with some flowering to it, as I've been pushing for this pollinator's habitat. I would like that to make that my pollinator's habitat. My suggestion for what's gonna be excavated there is, I think it's gonna be less onerous if I were to pull those the telephone poles back and put 2 more of these blocks right in there to shore up what's there today. And rather than just letting everything kind of fall down into the pond. We're gonna use proper erosion control, wattles and silt fence at the base of any allowed erosion or any allowed disturbance. And that's it.
I'm just gonna remove the front of this and then put the wall back in here.
No, I'm gonna go on the other side. This is steep. I mean, you can't even walk up that. So on the other side, it's a lot more gradual. There's actually a naturalized flat area that the gravel could be retained and not go down into the pond. Nick's been up there, I think, you know,
I would like to come up and see it.
everybody's welcome anytime.
This is,
Questions, Commissioner?
this is the proposed length of retaining wall that you'll be putting in here?
Actually, it appears that that retaining wall will not have to go in.
Oh.
We thought that the bank was gonna be a lot steeper, but let me tell you something else, we don't know the extent of it. We've actually made the site smaller. All of these porches that are on here, we had the ADA up there, to determine that this was for some ramping that we thought we could have to do. And we were able to contain it just into this structure, so that negated this retaining wall here. This will all be naturalized soil and plantings. There might be a little, more of a patio like over here a little bit, but we're not even thinking we're gonna do that. We think it's just all gonna be naturalized at this point. So this goes away, all these porches go away, and then it's just a gravel, it's gonna be a gravel road that's nicely lit.
Where is this gonna be?
It's further on down the plan, so this part was where we're gonna do the disturbance. Oh, I guess we took the other one down, did we? Yeah, it's further down on the peninsula,
Oh, okay.
further down.
Mike, when was the original order issued? Is this the order?
2 years ago?
Somewhere around there.
So the fact that you're altering, making alterations to this existing NOI or set of conditions, I think, I haven't been up there. Have you?
I've been up to the site, I was not aware that, you were putting in a revetment on there.
I think we should, you know.
Well, this was in the original
Go up
plan.
there, take a look at
I
it.
thought you said you weren't gonna do it now.
We're not gonna do it now.
Right, but you were originally.
Yes.
In the approved plan,
Yes.
so it's a change to the plan.
Well, we can put it in.
It's less impactful.
Yeah.
Generally, you know.
We can put it in. There's no problem. It's not a money issue. It was trying to be less intrusive than more
That's fine.
intrusive.
Cause if
No,
it's,
I'd like to see it, I'd like to see the, you know, site.
Would you like to see it before we vote on this, to make, to possibly modify that existing order of conditions?
The issue is, you can see the safety issue. Everybody's welcome up anytime, but I think, I've waited, too long for this. I was waiting for the weather to get better, and, you know, it's not getting any better.
Yes.
What are you gonna do with the poles afterwards? Just
We're
the
gonna
plan for
take-
disposal?
Well, that's a good question.
currently in the way.
They are like pressure treated lumber, and they would go to, most likely LKW.
Treated very well.
Yeah, I don't think they were.
They're on one site.
Commissioner questions, anything else?
No, no, they're,
Chill.
Okay, guys. Any other thoughts, comments, questions for?
I'm just curious about the fill, the clean fill that you'll be bringing in is with
no fill coming in. We would be using soil from the, existing soil from the site. Nothing's coming in. As a matter of fact, nothing has come in for this whole project. A lot has gone out, you know, but nothing has come in.
I do love the address though.
200?
No, 0.
Oh, I wanted, well, see, they wouldn't give me that. That was what we used for the project.
Oh, okay.
It's 200, it's 200.
That was on the original NOI.
Okay, so,
0 Lakeside Drive.
anything else?
Nope.
Okay, we'll move along with that. And does anybody else want to comment on this? Okay, just not official hearing? Nick?
Yeah, not an official hearing, so, just to bring some newer, members up to speed too, I'll kind of describe this generally. So if an applicant receives an order and we approve it, and then they come on later with a change, they can either request it as a modification, which would be like, Mr. Seegey's doing here, that does not require, a new hearing per se, it doesn't require new abutter notifications. If it's a larger change and either prior to a modification or someone requests a modification and the commission thinks it's too large of a change just to vote it through like this, then they need to file it as an amendment to an existing order, and then that would require new public notices and newspaper ads and things like this. This, I would consider a minor change and a necessary change, that's why I brought it, I advised Mike to turn it in as a request for modification rather than an amendment.
Or an emergency.
Yes, yeah, so after saying all that, basically, again, I think it's a necessary and moderate change to an existing order. So I would recommend that we approve it,
Appreciate the clarification.
as it is, yeah.
I would consider it urgent,
No problem.
but not emergency. Emergency means it is due to collapse any moment. Would be
One
what I
truck
think.
could take it
Well,
down.
it could, but I would call it urgent, just for semantics. I would consider an amendment instead of an emergency thing, because the preferred.
Should go back up into it a couple of times.
Okay, so I consider, guys, attention please. We have, looking for a motion to approve this particular
I'd like to
modification.
propose a motion, please.
Motion by Commissioner Seacard.
Okay.
Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Ridley, thank you.
I'll take the rest of the commission's vote by roll call. Jim Chambers.
Aye.
Stephanie Quinlan.
Aye.
Mr. Seekey's recusing himself.
Aye.
And so is Richard Gulick, yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
I'm ahead of myself.
So motion passes 5-0 and that's it.
And we welcome Commissioner Seekey back into the meeting.
Aye.
Welcome back.
Okay, moving on to the next, old business. This is the next upcoming wildflower hike. I'll turn to Nick.
Yeah, so I plugged this in the last meeting, just bring it up again, as we're getting closer. So the next, conservation-led hike is gonna be on April 27th at Johnny Appleseed State Park. Somewhat of a little-known area, but basically we're gonna be meeting at the back of the Babe Ruth baseball fields, in the parking area back there by the woods. There's a couple trailheads down there, so.
Off Lancaster, old Lancaster.
Yes.
Old Lake House.
What time?
At 4 p.m. There's other announcements on Recreation's page, and I'll be sending out a poster this week to all the department heads advertising that, so come on down, it's a fun time. I was walking around down there today, and there's some nice trout lilies and things starting to pop up, so we should have a nice floral fun time down
I
there.
I've heard of that fish before. So
Trout
look
lily.
forward to it.
Yeah.
I caught that.
Yeah, okay, alright, yes.
It's a joke.
What are trout lilies?
It's a little lily, with like speckled leaves, they're really pretty.
Thank you, appreciate your adding that into things.
Come meet some. That's it.
Certificate of compliance, there's nothing there on that. Extension permit, same, nothing. Communications, you have an update on 43 Stagecoach Road?
So yeah, 43 Stagecoach Road, they're, the property where the property owner had begun construction of one of two houses. He made me aware of it a few months ago. I knew that there were wetlands on site. I advised him as to where he could work without being in the buffer and without requiring a filing for us. He was always planning on coming before us eventually with an NOI filing. As I said at the last meeting, I've since been there in the last couple of weeks, and their contractors and the people working there have pushed fill all the way up to the boundary of the wetland flagging, so I had asked him to pull that back, cease any work in the buffer, and it was a few weeks ago, so there was a lot of snow on the ground was still frozen. Asked him as soon as he's able to pull that fill back and install erosion controls around the perimeter of disturbed soil, and to file an NOI before doing any more work in the buffer. He hasn't filed an NOI yet, but I have been in touch with him today. They said they got the erosion controls installed. I've been able to go out and inspect them myself, but I'll be going out there tomorrow, and we're still expecting an NOI filing from them in the next couple of weeks.
Okay,
That's it.
any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next. Communication is an update of the old notice of intent at the 689 Wachusett Street address, and that's a chicken coop.
Yes.
It's become deep in your gut.
Well, I was able to get in touch with the property owner today, and he tells me that the old chicken coop is deconstructed and no longer existent. There's no chickens living out there. Again, I haven't gotten a chance to go out there today,
Get rid of
but he told me I can come by anytime to inspect it, check it out, and that's,
Does he have a new one, or?
I asked him if the
Are
new
they
one is up.
free-ranging up there?
He says there's no chickens out there, the old coop is gone. I don't believe he's planning on going forward with the new coop, but in any case, the new coop is outside of the buffer, so it's not really,
Yeah, so we made him get rid of his chickens.
We don't know if he
We
still
made him
has
move
them,
it.
but it sounds like they're gone.
I
yes.
think he brought
Is
them in the
this-
living room.
I'm not sure what he did
Is
with
this the
them.
original coop or is
Yes.
this the recent?
No, this
That's
is
the
the
ori-
original from before when
Okay.
you joined
Yes.
us.
That was very,
Okay.
yeah,
Chickens are out. Thank you for the good news.
yes.
Just for those
We don't know that.
back watching from the internet or the tape delay, this was a site where the chicken coop was basically right within the wetland zone, which had flowing water going right up next to the coop. There was no roof, there was no concrete thing underneath. It was basically 30 chickens producing what they produce regularly. So thank you for that. Okay. We had 2 sets of meeting minutes to consider and hopefully approve tonight. One was from February 14th, 2023.
Yes.
I do have one request for that. Please note that you were in attendance, not just the commissioners.
Good point.
Include your attendance, please, on that.
I'll make that change.
Does I did review them. I had no comments. Does anybody
No,
else?
they're
Anybody
very
else
well done.
vouch for them?
Very well done.
I'd love a
Who's doing it?
motion.
Are you doing them down there?
Yes.
That's why they were.
Yes.
Well,
That explains that.
So I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from February 14th, 2023. Commissioner
I
Seacard
will
made the
second
motion.
it.
Commissioner Seeke seconded that.
okay. Pen's not working? Alright, Bob, made the motion, Mike seconded. I'll take the rest of the commissioners, vote by roll call. Jim Chambers.
Aye.
Stephanie Quinlan,
I,
Ken Ridlin, and Richard Guller.
Aye.
Alright, minutes accepted
The
with
next-
the proposed changes.
Yes, with that one change.
Yep.
The next are the minutes from our most recent meeting, March 28th,
Wow.
2023. That was a pleasure to announce that part.
Yeah, who would have ever thought?
Exactly. I do have 2 requests for this one. One is to, again, include yourself there.
Okay.
And on page 4, in the section on the Yamadori Bonsai Collection Permission,
Mhm.
it says in the minutes that the agent, that we had asked that, you do this refilling, take photos, and that the agent incorporate any conditions added by the Leominster Trail Stewards after consulting them.
Mhm.
The specific request was that we were consult with the Leominster Trail Stewards, but then we would make our own decision, not necessarily to accept what they recommended. So it
Okay.
wasn't to automatically accept that.
Okay, so maybe reword to after considering.
That we had, the commission asked the agent to consult with the Leominster Trail Stewards for comment, and that we were continuing this for 2 weeks until we received that comment.
Okay. And on that point, without going too far afield, because we're just talking about minutes here, I did talk to Dick O'Brien today from Leominster Trail Stewards. There's a larger conversation to be had there. He generally, was approving of the project, but, I'm just gonna have to hammer out some more details with him and see what exactly the Leominster Trail Stewards would like to,
We'll come back on
would
that
suggest on
item
that.
in
Yes.
just a second.
Yes.
I've added it to the agenda.
Okay, that's fine. Yes.
So it's anything else on these minutes? Is that
It
change okay?
doesn't miss much.
Remember, recollection that works? Okay,
No,
like a motion
it's
to
not.
approve the March 28th minutes with the 2 updates that I requested.
so made.
Thank you. Commissioner
I will second it.
Seeke, thank you.
I'll take the rest of the commissioners vote by roll call. Jim Chambers.
Aye.
Ken Ridlin.
Aye.
Bob Seacard.
Aye.
And Richard Guller.
Aye.
Motion minutes accepted.
There's nothing in the next item under, well, before I move on, I would like to thank Agent Nick Conservation Agent Nick for getting those minutes done and doing such a good job,
nice job.
concise
Thank
but
you, Nick.
thorough enough.
Nice
And it's
job.
been great. I hope you continue to do the most recent one, meaning tonight's, along with one other for your next meeting.
Yes.
That's a great goal. Catch us up.
I would, before expectations get too high, I might not have any minutes ready because I will be going away, on my wedding for a week
Unacceptable.
between now and then, so.
When are you leaving?
Leaving Sunday.
If you come back and you've done minutes, I'm gonna be mad at you.
I'm not-
Fair enough.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. We all wish Nick well on the trip. Emergency certifications, we don't have anything. Budget, we don't have anything. Is there any wetland ordinance? Does anybody want to discuss that tonight or wait till our chair is back to discuss? let's wait till our chair's back. Leads us to commissioner news, in which case I wanted to bring up the bonsai request. And, because we were hoping to approve or disprove that tonight. What did, any conversation with Neil Wynn?
No, but I was speaking with Dick O'Brien, like I had mentioned, I had emailed Neil last week.
Neil is the director of the Leominster Trail Stewards, and Dick O'Brien is the head of the volunteer group.
Yes, thank you for that clarification. So I emailed Neil midweek last week. I haven't heard anything back from him, but in speaking with Dick O'Brien today, he did confirm that Neil received that email and had forwarded it to Dick. So I guess Neil just hadn't had time to reply or just slipped his mind, whatever. But I started speaking with Dick a little bit. He suggested generally putting on parameters, and I explained that, you know, the commission had mentioned some of those conditions that they'd like to see, such as like a tree, like a count limit per year, a time limit.
Did you tell him was it we're looking at a 20 tree per year limit for 5 years?
I mentioned that to him.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, he didn't say anything specifically on that, but he just advised me generally to be cautious in doing that, in permitting this activity, so that we don't permit things that are beyond the scope if we get more people interested in doing this sort of thing. You understand what I mean?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so I told him, and I think this is maybe a good framework to understand it for other people. I'm viewing this in very much the same way that hunting is viewed. You know, people are allowed to hunt on conservation lands and harvest a certain amount of certain animals from there. So it's our purview to make decisions, management decisions for conservation lands around the city. I think this is just as legitimate a way for people to enjoy our public spaces as hunting is. So, you know, in the same vein, allow certain limits
Passive
of
sports.
harvesting, yeah, so.
Well, if we have a flood coming in of 10 people each meeting asking for the same thing, we might reconsider someday.
Yeah.
But for now, we've had one request, and I do appreciate that that particular resident came to us first and asked for permission.
Yeah.
Instead of clearing whole properties right above the river or something like that.
Right, yeah, just something.
Because that could happen. Thoughts from commissioners?
No, it's,
No, he seems very genuine,
yeah,
and
genuine, nice man.
very trustworthy. and
Yeah.
Any reason
Share
to
some
hold,
of his work, I'd like to
very
see it.
receptive to
any reason to
everything
hold
he
a
did say.
decision tonight based on your feedback?
I mean, if the commission's fine with it, I think we may have voted already.
We did not, we continued it. I'm
Okay.
gonna check my notes, I will do that.
Sure, please. I mean,
I have them right here.
we can vote again, or if we did, I don't think we did vote, actually, I think you're right on that. Sorry, Bob, what are you, yeah?
I didn't even know it was in our jurisdiction to vote. I mean, the idea, but
I mean, if anyone is going to permit something like this, we're the ones charged with making management
Oh,
decisions
really?
for
Responsible.
conservation lands.
Conservation lands are a part of what we do, not just Wetlands Protection Act.
oh, okay.
We don't have complete control, I mean, there's things like, depending on exact ownership, like the water, watershed lands around the reservoirs and stuff, there's different logging activities that take place and things, but in terms of like residents asking for kind of out of the box sort of activities like this, I think that falls under our
Falls under
purview.
us. And the trail stewards, did that operations kind of under our purview.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, any gentleman of this caliber that would voluntarily come in beforehand
Yeah.
and be very receptive of everything we said and agree to it, you know,
So-
I don't have no problem with it.
I would be glad to entertain a motion to approve Mr. Buchanan's request. And with the conditions, I believe, and maybe Commissioner Quinlan can help me with this, because you had some of them, that it would be up to 20 trees per year
For 5 years.
For 5
for
years.
5 years.
And maintaining photo records and rough survey
Guys?
locations
Please.
of where the trees were collected from.
Mhm.
I think that was all we said.
And he sent us photos and
Just keep a record, photo,
what he
location
did.
for all your trees.
And
Periodically send it to us.
specifically, I'd like to see, and I think this is kind of what you mean, just like a picture of the tree in question before and the area
yes.
after he fills it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too quick.
Not in the pot, you know.
Before that.
Yeah.
Well, no, we did
That'd
ask,
be nice.
we did ask for one of the final products.
Right, that one's just for
That's a
funsies
courtesy.
stuff, yeah.
Right. Okay, is that clear, sir?
Yeah, and I don't believe we had any other conditions in terms of distance.
Weren't we
from
saying
trails.
so many feet away from the, 50 feet away from the paths?
I was checking, we never came to a consensus on that, I was gonna check with the trail stewards if they had a preference for anything like that.
It was gonna make it not, if I may.
Yeah.
Where it showed no impact.
Yeah.
And I kind of accept.
Yeah, I
it.
would think,
That was something that was bandied about.
It might have been a 10-foot, would be.
I mean, I think the paths are pretty well cleared between foot traffic and the trail steward, so it's not like he's gonna have much to
No,
pick from there.
and as trail stewards, we go up and take down a lot of trees.
Yep.
Mostly dead ones though, unless it's a new trail.
And if he's, doing what he's work conditioning in a prior condition, like filling in the area and leveling it out to roughly where it was before he removed the tree, then I don't see any problem with it. Maybe
These
just,
things are gonna be this big, so it's not like it's.
Well, no, they
Taking
could
out
be
giant-
bigger.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah, like
It's hard to bonsai
No,
the bigger ones,
he
though.
said these
Yeah,
could
but
be
you
real
take the
sized
bigger ones, then
trees.
you can like wrap them, you know,
Yeah, it could.
But he has to carry them out.
yes.
he's gotta take him, he's
Yeah,
gotta take him
no,
out.
no
You gotta
equipment,
dig
no
them in
power
here.
tools, so hand tools.
Yes, and that's like another condition that.
And the,
we
the
mentioned.
motion would include that he was following his plan that he submitted to us, correct? Okay, so you got all that in one motion? Does
Mhm.
anybody like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay.
Commissioner Seacard seconded.
Alright, so I will take the rest of the commission's vote by roll call. Jim Chambers.
Aye.
Ken Ridlin.
Aye.
Mike Seeke.
Aye.
And Richard Geller.
Aye.
Alright, I will continue my conversation with the trail stewards tomorrow, just to double check on that, but barring any additional conditions, I will get that permission letter sent out to him before the end of the week.
Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Any other thoughts from commissioners before we close?
Only because it's so in the view of everybody now is, the CO2 oxygen effect of the projects. Somebody may say something,
Oh, a tree will grow back there.
plus and minus, yeah, I mean, it's kind of silly, but,
Yeah.
somebody may say something, you're taking away from the absorption of CO2. And I'll tell
Only
you
if
what.
a tree dies.
Yes, that's gonna be, yeah.
I just thought of that, I don't think it's relevant.
I don't wanna see that.
I did have another unrelated comment.
Thank you.
I saw on the Leominster newsletter that it's like cleanup month, and they're doing some organized cleanups between, I think now in April and I think like the 22nd of May or something. And if there was a time in May that anyone else was interested in coordinating, doing some Conservation Commission-led cleanup, I would love to join.
Okay,
That
we saw a site today
Yeah.
that was very, very littered
Yeah,
with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of the little liquor bottles.
that seems
Apparently it was
perfect.
a
You fill
disposal
up your
site
bags
coming
really
around
quickly,
the
it'll look
corner.
like you did a lot.
It seemed like tens of thousands, ridiculous,
We should,
ridiculous.
we should organize.
I have a
I'll take a
14-foot
weekend.
dump trailer.
Whoa,
14-foot dump trailer, I can haul anything over there and I can take it right to LKW, dispose of it properly.
So it was suggested to our agent today that he look into, is there some possible group as one of these cleanups that come about in April that could head down to that stretch of street? You might need, road hazard help.
You gotta remember, there's two 55-gallon drums now, plastic
Yeah.
55-gallon
Couple
drums.
drums,
now.
there's-
Those plastic?
Yeah, they're plastic.
There's a syringe and all sorts of bottles and then normal trash, but it was,
Thank God. because
I've never seen a more littered place ever,
Never.
never, as that stretch of road. So thank you for that.
yeah, I can't do April, but I have flexibility in May.
I
By
think
then
that would
it'll
be,
be all grown in.
Well, it doesn't have to be us necessarily, but we might.
And then we're-
I'm calling my specific in time, you know what I mean, as an individual, if there was interest.
Well, hopefully we could get a big group maybe for that, and we might be part of it.
yeah, I may, like Ken said, May could be a little late in terms
I'll
of
get
things
out,
growing
I'll
in,
get
but it'd still be better than nothing,
Yeah, I
I think that's a
What
great.
about
Certainly
early
before the
May,
city
May
has to mow
7th?
that area.
We wanna get to it before they
Yeah.
mow,
Okay.
because otherwise they're gonna chop up all the plastic bounds.
Yeah,
Right.
we were talking
Yeah,
about
that's
that
what it's
before.
talking about.
That was one of the good suggestions from one of our commissioners this morning. Okay,
And the
so if you're
trailer would
looking at
be-
something we can,
I could see about
Work on
organizing.
Yeah,
that.
we can send an email out.
Yes.
Mike's trailer would be good, because like I said, we've got, to begin with, we have those 255-gallon plastic drums, so that would be great to be able
And
to
I've
get those
got
out
a
of
little
there.
tractor with a bucket that can
Love it.
follow
could be you,
along.
could be
Wow,
DPW,
just
could
throw
be,
the- just throw the stuff in the,
anything else from
Well,
commissioners?
just so you know too, that there's communities around the country banning that type of
yeah.
alcohol
Yeah,
size
yeah.
because of this reason.
Oh,
Right,
because of the
sure.
litter?
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
they
Go
also are very convenient for a driver that has an
Mm.
issue or a problem,
Mm.
that they can hide it, but they can get rid of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a
It's
certain,
the while driving disposal spot.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Ugh.
Go
Yeah.
take a look, you'll be awed.
there's a certain brand, Red something, and I think the guy,
Red Bull.
Dr.
Cinnamon
McGillicuddy.
whiskey.
yeah, the
These
guy,
are all-
the guy that's using it as a disposal site, he tried, because he probably kept bags in his car, and he would put the empties in his bag, in the bags. And then one night he's driving down the road and he decides, screw it, I've had enough of this bag in my car. So there are also bags.
Bags and
Ah.
bags.
Or worse, it was one night and he filled the bag,
This
so.
is, I
Okay.
think that's this property, right? This is the
No,
one you're
no,
discussing?
No,
No,
this is the one down behind the orchard.
Oh, okay.
Down behind the Target,
Or-
people driving by.
Orchard Hill Park Drive.
Oh,
Yeah.
So as they make
On the
the
lower
turn,
part.
you just,
right.
There's
Yeah,
no-
it's dark down there.
Yeah, there's no one
No
around.
Not
cameras.
super well traveled.
Yeah.
yeah,
cameras.
right, no
Yeah.
cameras.
Okay, any other thoughts?
So while we're still on commissioner news, I just wanted to mention this. I don't know honestly how much time I would have to help organizing something with this, but there is gonna be Leominster Earth Fest coming up here on April 21st. I believe it's down in the auditorium there. But there is a number of different organizations and things from around Leominster, around the area coming to talk about conservation, Earth Day, things that you can do to, live more environmentally consciously. And I like the idea of having a conservation table down there.
Is
Yeah,
it like
it's a
it's
great
like
idea.
an environmental fair?
Yeah,
Great idea.
yeah, for people to walk around and, learn different things. But the only thing is I don't really have any like handouts or anything down there, but I can check back if there's interest amongst the commission here for people to attend and to man the table, because again, it's gonna be during the time that I'm away, so I won't be there. But if people are interested in participating in that,
I'd man the table.
I can secure us a table, yeah.
I'm sure we'd like to do that, so if you can get us a table and get us somebody to talk to about it.
Yeah.
The rest of us will take care of it.
And I'll try and I'll see what's required of us down there. I don't know if we need to have things to hand out. I think it would be a good idea.
Oh,
I just
yeah,
don't have anything like that right
We
now.
can take care of that since you're busy, so we got it covered, but
Okay.
please, get a reservation for us and a contact and send that to me.
You know, and to Rich's idea earlier with that little card, that'd be an appropriate place to hand out
To start
those little
to
cards.
develop something.
Just go to the mayor's office, he's got all kinds of stuff.
Okay,
I'll
anything
show you
else?
some of it too.
Just make sure he's not there when you go get it.
Just handing out.
You got any
At that
literature-
note, I'd
any
like,
literature on the vernal pools? I mean, we could do.
I can see, yeah, I can try and get some materials from like just other organizations, pamphlets that already exist, and can hand that out, and at the same time talking about what we do and what the Wetland Protection Act.
if you get a little collection of stuff for us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And when is your last day here before your break?
I'm having a half day on Friday,
This week?
Yep.
Okay.
so that's what I mean. It's close, but I can maybe get something together. But
That's just one, maybe two tasks, right?
Yeah.
Get us set up, connected.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Oh, I will, not be at the next meeting.
Okay.
on the 25th,
Mhm.
That's two, but you're back in town.
I should be back. So we got 5 potentially coming.
I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion so made.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Second that, right?
Oh, man,
Seconded by
Hey, don't you
Commissioner
guys throw your
Chambers.
shoulders up with the hand up.
Hang on, guys, we gotta do a vote yet.
I'll take the rest of the commission's vote by roll call. Stephanie Quinlan,
Aye.
Mike Seekey,
Aye.
Bob Seacard,
I second that.
Richard Gulling.
Oh, did you beat me to it?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
get you
yeah,
to it. So you declared him as the seconder. Aye.
Alright.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.